Alrighty. There we go. That's the gimmick, right? So as I walk around and ramble today, I want to talk about being a product of your own surroundings, or you become the product of your own surroundings. Where that fucking phrase is, right? And I want to talk about that in the context of being a nerd and the sort of like Peter Pan syndrome of Japan, maybe. Or maybe just, we all kind of want to be younger. Japan is just a little bit more open about it. So, one of the things I talked about when I first was able to get to Japan is I was afraid that, man, maybe it's just been too long since I've been a nerd, so to speak. Maybe I won't appreciate Japan as much as I would have had I gotten to go when I was younger and more of a nerd, right? But I actually enjoyed Japan more than I thought that I would, even though I don't have as much of an interest in a lot of nerdy kind of things anymore, right? And let's compare different kinds of aspects of being a nerd, like the anime, manga kind of nerd, whatever, the part of me that liked drawing, all that kind of stuff when I was younger. Oh boy, I'm out of breath already, dude. I am not sleeping well. And the video game part, right? And I've said before that, people are like, oh, are you going to play video games when you're in Japan? All that kind of stuff. And I'm like, no, don't really have any urge to play video games. And I can say, this is my 4th time now in Japan. I still don't really have any urge to play video games whatsoever. The only kind of slight urge I've had is, I guess I made that Hayato combo video right before I left for Japan again. So there's been a slight urge that, maybe when I get back to America, I got some other ideas to do with Hayato. You know what I mean? If I play again. But other than that, there's no huge desire to go to an arcade or play any video games, right? So talking about the product of your surroundings, right? That part of me is still not there. Just, it doesn't, Japan does not make me want to play video games, right? And I guess that reason could probably be because, maybe twofold. One, I just, the video game community, it's so far gone years and years that they already sucked the fun out of video games, many, many years ago now, that it just doesn't matter. Plus, video games as well, I guess you could say that I've always said as well, video games for me, and I know this is going to get the haters mad, video games for me, I never knew that I was good at video games. Video games was always kind of like, I'm a nerd, I enjoy them, but I didn't know that I was actually good at them. Even when I'd entered that first tournament, I said so many years ago as a kid, you know what I mean? I beat everybody besides the guy that was considered the second best in the Midwest at the time, right? And I was like, oh, I guess I'm actually good at video games. And like I said, not long before that, I didn't even know Street Fighter was actually a thing. I thought, Street Fighter had died, not long before that. So again, I like video games, but I guess video games were not, in that aspect, from that perspective, maybe not that important to me that I feel that urge to play again now that I'm in Japan. And as well, again, I don't have regrets in terms of video games. And again, I'm talking about regrets, and you're going to see why. I don't have regrets in terms of video games, in terms of I've proved that I'm the best. Do you know what I mean? At least in terms of tech and finding different stuff in video games, no one has ever done what I've done. Now, do I get all the credit that I should? You know what I mean? I guess maybe from a certain perspective, the fact that I have so many crazy haters is credit to just how much crazy shit that I've done. And you can look at all the games that I've accurately called throughout the years, all the games that I changed the perspective on how they're played, etc. It's like fucking clockwork, right? So there's no real regret in terms of, the product of your surroundings. What I'm going to keep going deeper and deeper. Like, oh man, I want to relive my childhood of video games or something like that, because I've already still been proving that I'm the best tech dude ever at fighting games. No one is even close. Do I get the credit that I should? From a certain perspective, no, but there's no regret in terms of I want to relive my youth of video games, right? And even competitively speaking, for me personally, yeah, I would have liked to, I guess I never won Evo technically or some shit like that. But, I've never been someone that has a huge competitive ego like I've talked about like that. I've never had the killer instinct. I never knew I was good at video games. I was just someone that could just, happen to be good. And I feel like what I've done competitively in games, I had to have surgery on my hands. Hands are fucked up. I don't practice a lot. You've seen the busted setups I've played on. I feel that my health, I was going to tournaments, getting sick and out between matches and bathrooms after radiation, all this kind of shit. I won a lot of fucking tournaments still, even despite everything. So even that, the regret is not that big enough that the Peter Pan syndrome of Japan is like, oh man, I gotta go to arcades, I gotta play video games. It's not there. Do you know what I mean? But I will say something I do find myself maybe, doing is I do feel the nerd in me in terms of anime. Going to Japan does make me want to watch anime again a little bit. I do find myself going to bookstores and I'm like, I kind of want to play a video game, like a dating game, to be honest with you. That sounds even worse, I guess. I do kind of find I kind of have an urge to play some of these dating games. I'll watch a dating anime, whatever it is, That kind of nerdy aspect of me, so I guess not specifically fighting games, right? But, man, it's I wouldn't mind playing a dating game again just for something to do. I wouldn't mind watching just a stupid, random romance anime again. I wouldn't mind, that aspect of being a nerd. So in terms of, being the product of your surroundings and how it, influences you, for sure being in Japan, I feel that nostalgia and reminiscence or whatever of, wanting to be young, wanting to be a nerd. I have the regret of, I had to quit school because I was dying. You know what I mean? They literally would not let me pass because I was just missing too many days. My health just totally destroyed my life. So again, product of your surrounding, being in Japan, on and off, I do feel the idea man, this could have been my life. You know what I mean? Because even now, God, I was sick on and off all again yesterday. I didn't really get out of bed till almost 2 or 3 again today, unfortunately. So I feel the reminiscence, nostalgia, regret of how my life has turned out in terms of that. And it makes me want to be a nerd because I'm like, man, I wish my life didn't turn out that way. I wish I was I shouldn't say I wish. I don't know if my regret is that strong, but I do feel, reminiscence and nostalgia for kind of wanting to be a nerd again. Man, I could have been out here when I was younger, but my health would not allow me to. And even now, my health only allows me to do so much. So that part about, being a product of your own surroundings and stuff that influences you, yes, say anime, and I wanted to be an artist when I was younger. Of course, my hands are fucked up, so that kind of ruined that. But I have some art on my Instagram and, that kind of stuff. I have made my own sort of story, and I've been proud of it, There's maybe a weird little, desire to still, have my own anime or manga someday. But in terms of video games, specifically fighting games, I guess, like I said, I sort of have a desire to play a dating game sometimes again. But, otherwise, the fighting game, there's no desire really to go to arcades or anything like that. If there's any, it is such slight, it's almost like a curiosity, you know what I mean? Because I can respect, if you ever get to go to Japan and, actually live here for a little bit, you see why people probably go to arcades, you know what I mean? Because you're just going to be jam-packed at home anyway, you know what I mean? May as well go to the arcade all day. God, I'm trying to think if I should actually go more deeper into this conversation, different layers. Talking about product of your own surroundings, Should I like get this video is already kind of long. I don't know if I want to get too un-PC with this conversation. You definitely, I mean, being a product of your own surroundings, I can definitely say, you know, you can see how Japan brings out the pervert in people. Let's just say that, like, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. My videos already get flagged so often. I don't know if we should totally go there, but I don't know, dude. But being a product of your own surroundings, dude, you know what I mean? I've always been kind of a loner kind of dude, you know what I mean? So I'm not really influenced by people, you know what I mean? I've always been my own kind of dude. I don't, you know, anything anyone tells me I take with a grain of salt, especially like video game people watching this. Like I said, I saw the video, right as a kid, I saw the video game community was full of fucking weirdos and idiots, so I was never influenced. There was never any chance of me being influenced by anyone in the video game community. Like, once I started getting to it, so I was like, oh, I could, you know, instantly be like, you know, oh man, these guys are fucking retards. I can see I'm not going to get very far, you know. But anyway, maybe a deeper video about this later, but I just thought, you know, because I do feel myself, I go to bookstores, I look at manga, you know what I mean? I look at this, I'm like, I kind of, part of me does kind of want to be a nerd a little bit again, right? But the video game stuff, you know, people are like, oh, don't you ever want to play video games or stuff? I'm like, no, not really. You know, even if you think about like that Obama stuff that happened, like that dude doesn't want to do anything if he plays, unless he played video games, and so he got mad at me, all that kind of crap. And it's like, I don't know, you guys, why would I play video games all day? I can look at a video game and tell how it's going to work. You know, I just don't have that desire's not there. There's no like trying to relive childhood or anything like that. When you think about Japan and you think about the Peter Pan syndrome, and you know, that's, you know, I guess we're already getting deeper now. And that's because, you know, your life is over once you know, you get older and you got to work all the time and, you know, that kind of stuff. There's no Peter Pan syndrome really for any Peter Pan syndrome for video game stuff for me is just so low on the totem pole. Like, even being in Japan, it's not starting the fire, you know? But anime and manga, I do have that, you know? But video game stuff, it's just, people are like, oh, you don't want to play video games? It's just, you're in Japan, you know? I've heard some people, they go to Japan. Wasn't there almost like a documentary about people that went to Japan to live just to play Third Strike? I mean, you know, everyone's got their own dream, so, you know, don't want to hate on somebody for their own dream, I guess, you know? Do what you want to do, but, you know, for me personally, you know, people always ask me to go play games. Japan does not rekindle that fire. It just doesn't. Anyway, remember, if you like videos, like, subscribe, comment, share, support the channel if you want. I appreciate it. Thanks. The end.